So you have visas, you're prepared to fly to Moscow. What do you think Lon's going to say to Edward when they meet?
We have visas. I will not disclose the particular dates to avoid a media frenzy. It's soon. And I have no doubt he'll say, I love you and I miss you, and I want to know that everything we're doing is in your interest. I think Lon is very sensitive to the fact that his son is 30 years old, and his son ultimately decides his fate. Lon doesn't sit there as a dictator says, well, you need to do X, Y, Z. He's very respectful of his son's independence. His son will make up his own mind. And I think what Lon will reassure his son is our mission, so to speak, is to ensure that Edward has the full array of facts, legal options on the table that he fully apprehends before he makes any kind of decision, whether it regards representation in the United States or book deals or reading books or anything else. But ultimately, the decision is with Edward.
It seems to me that Edward Snowden basically came forward with this information because he wanted the people of the United States to have this conversation, whether or not this was lawful, whether or not it's appropriate for the United States to spy to the degree that they are at this stage. And yet it seems to me that the argument now is Edward Snowden a patriot or a traitor? Is it really occurring, or is the conversation a different conversation?
No, well, I think the conversation is occurring. I mean, the President of the United States has now, at least he's tasked James Clapper, who's the one who's the culprit of the whole secrecy, with establishing some kind of civil liberties review in the government with private input. I'm sure they're not going to ask me to see whether or not there could be greater protections built into the surveillance programs. And I know, because I've been up in Congress, they've had many hearings and legislation introduced to change the Patriot Act and the FISA amendments that were disclosed by Edward Snowden. So those actions of Congress show that he has succeeded in generating the public support, because Congress is acting since, I think it's like 77% of Americans in the latest poll believe that the NSA needs greater restraints. Huge. That would 77% wouldn't have been there without Edward Snowden, because they wouldn't even known that the programs existed without these disclosures.